Whether we like it or not, we are being perceived. Right now, someone is deciding what you stand for based on a headline, a reel, a landing page, or maybe even a DM that you haven't answered yet. If perception is inevitable, then story is how you take back control. My name is Kelly Rocklein. I'm a UGC creator, creative performance marketer, and founder of UGC Pro. I've been storytelling to win clients, build a personal brand, land press, and help brands scale. Founder ads, they work. Thoughtful testimonials, they convert. And the underdog arc, people don't just watch it, they root for it. Look, this isn't about being more dramatic, it is about being more intentional. The world will build a narrative about you anyway. Storytelling is how you write it first. If you're a creator, an entrepreneur, or both, here are 3 truths that have never failed me. Truth 1, it is not what you say, it is how you say it. 2 people can say, I help brands grow, and one disappears while the other becomes unavoidable. The difference isn't information, it's interpretation. When I pitch publications, I don't lead with a resume. I lead with the frame, the tension, the stakes, the relevance. That same principle applies to everything that you put out. The words matter, but the framing makes them land. Truth 2, people buy because of feelings and justify with facts. Founder ads outperform product-only ads because real human gives people something to feel, to trust, an affinity, an aspiration, relief. As creators, we do this for clients all the time. Something that I love to say is market yourself that same way. If you'd never let a client post a lifeless demo, don't ship a lifeless LinkedIn profile. If you'd push a client to share a compelling origin story, do the same for your own personal brand. Truth 3, the most magnetic positioning is human and aspirational. People love an underdog, but they also need a believable path forward. Be open about the climb and clear about the system that keeps you climbing. You don't need to share everything, you need to share what teaches and what moves. Here's a simple 5-part story spine that you can use anywhere for your brand, client work, testimonials, or even when pitching PR. Who I am, think credibility. 1 sentence, clear and specific. I'm a creative performance marketer and founder of UGC Pro. I help brands and creators turn story into measurable growth. The tension, which is relatability, the problem that your audience also feels. Most creators talk features, audiences buy feelings. The turn, so think of like this is the turning point, the moment that you took a different path. When I realized my best results came from story-driven ads and human-first hooks, I made a narrative growth system, not just a nice to have. And then the proof, aka receipts, so real examples. Founder-led ads, they beat our control group. Story-based testimonials lifted conversion. A reframed pitch got us covered and not ignored by a journalist. The invitation, aka call-in, what you want people to do next. Decide what you want to be known for and start telling that story on purpose. And if you think that your story isn't dramatic enough, good. That makes it usable. Audiences don't need your lowest valley. They need your clearest pattern. Document the system. Don't dump the diary. And if you're worried if it sounds like bragging, it's not. It's positioning. Women especially are taught to downplay the evidence that builds trust. And be honest about the struggle, but unapologetic about the skill. And that's when doors start to open that you didn't even knock on, which is so funny because that's exactly how I ended up on this Deschutes Women in Business panel. I literally said it during my time with them that I don't think I would have been on that panel had I not done the type of storytelling that I've done up until this point. So as you watch this panel, listen for patterns, how each of us turned real life situations or experiences into a message and then into a method. Take what resonates, borrow the structure, and write your next chapter with purpose. And if you really want to go deeper on the storytelling side that secures you earned press as compared to paying thousands of dollars for BS publication features, I built a quick mini course called Pitch Yourself, the PR Power Hour. The best part, it's under 60 minutes with short exercises that walk you through how to frame your story so that journalists actually want to write about you. This is the same method that I've used to land coverage in Business Insider, Entrepreneur, CNBC's Make It series, NBC, all by leveraging story, not status. You can check it out by going to the description. And if I can remind you of one thing, the world is going to perceive you either way. You might as well be the one that is holding the pen. Let's dive in.
Welcome to UGC Pro, the podcast where creative strategy, UGC innovation, and freelancing success collide. I'm your host, Kelly Rocklein, a self-taught creative marketer from the brand and creator side, with over a decade of experience working with hundreds of brands and driving over $500 million in revenue. Now, as a mentor to more than 10,000 aspiring UGC creators and creative strategists, I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Whether you're here to sharpen your ad game or gain fresh insights to elevate your creative freelance business, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, or habit stack. Is there a pile of laundry that you need to get through? What about unloading the dishwasher? Maybe it's a good time to go out and get some fresh air. Whether you're cuddled up on the couch or getting your steps in, I am so happy you're here. So without further ado, let's dive in.
All right. While they're getting snugly up here, I'm Lisa Hovey. I'm one of the co-founders of Deschutes Women in Business. I do startup consulting and advising in strategy and operations. I have a long background of startups. My work often lives at the intersection of brand strategy and business strategy, and bringing that to life and operationalizing it. And so the storytelling piece, it cannot be separated. It has to be integrated. So I'm super excited about this topic. Okay, so again, in Q1, we set the stage with bold, audacious goals. We talked about strategic planning. We talked about setting that, big, hairy, audacious goal out there in the universe. Q2, we really dove into the financials and the power in your numbers and how to own your growth. And now for this quarter, not really Q3 because we took a break for summer, but here we are with storytelling. So who here feels super confident, like really selling yourself and telling your story? Yeah, not really that many people. Me neither. And I want to be clear, telling your story isn't just the words, that you're saying about yourself. It can be the fact that Kelly here brought her own videographer. That is badass because that is a huge part of telling her story. It's what brands you partner with and where you show up in the world. That's part of telling your story. So there's so many different layers. And then you also layer on a lot of the pieces, about being a woman. I don't want to show up as too much. And I don't want to show up as not enough. I have imposter syndrome. All these pieces that just make it harder to tell our story. But at the end of the day, it's so powerful. And we're going to hear from these amazing women who have really woven that into their businesses with great success. All right. So I'm not going to read you their bios. I'm just going to have each of them give their names and kind of where they're at right now. And I think a lot of the questions will tell the story too.
All right. Just real quick, in the spirit of storytelling, I am totally fine, but I had the procedure this morning, which was a little scary. I got testing done and everything looks great, and I think that happened. This has happened to any of you. Let me know afterwards when we saw. But if I say anything weird or if I'm a little slow, that's what's going on. Wah.
She's like, Lisa, I am so sorry. I was a.
Anyway, but I'm Lindsay Gilmore. I am an artist in town, and I paint a lot of our local landscapes, and then I make products like prints and stickers and cards and puzzles and sell those either directly on my website or to local businesses and gift shops like that. So awesome.
She's being very modest. She's so talented. Look up her work.
Yeah, her work is beautiful. My name is Kelly Rocklein. I am an entirely self-taught creative performance marketer. I fell into the industry accidentally back in 2014 for a passion of content creation. I took an alternative route. I didn't go to college, proud college dropout, and have worked my way through corporate America up to creative director, leading brands that are spending 7 to 8 figures to 9 figures annually on Meta alone. So I'm leading all the strategy behind the scenes. Outside of that, I've also built UGC Pro, which is a platform that has taught over 10,000 people. Actually, we have a few of them in this room right now. But so our digital products have helped others get this accessibility to this educational information that I had to learn the hard way without a college degree. So it's really exciting to be here with such talented women. And we also have Creator Confidential, which is a event that we host in Toronto for creators.
My name is Afton Kofeld. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Broken Top Brands, formerly Broken Top Candle Company. I started in my kitchen as a stay-at-home mom, just pouring candles anytime I could, and very rapidly grew into a multi-million-dollar company selling in. Thanks. It's hard to say. I'm one of those that I'm like, I don't. It's really hard to talk about my business from my perspective. But we manufacture, distribute, and sell personal care and home fragrance products from candles to diffusers, lotions, soaps, perfumes, car fresheners, all throughout Canada and the United States. So all of that is done right here in Bend, Oregon. That's kind of, I never know what to say. Like there's just too much to talk about in one sentence. But I guess the founder story is I started pouring candles in my kitchen. I was a stay-at-home mom. Like that's what I did. And Newport Market was one of my first wholesale accounts. We sell, our mix is really spread between large accounts such as Whole Foods, Francesca's. We sell into Anthropologie, stores you probably haven't heard of, like H-E-B, working on Sprouts. And we have 3 brands now and counting. So yeah, that's
Amazing. Woo! Thank you. Well, thank you all for being here. For those of you that this is your first event, some panels will get people on stage. We'll talk about all the shiny things and like the glossy highlights. We like to get real here. So, we're going to talk about, of course, the successes, but it's also so important to talk about not only failures, but challenges and just the real deal because we're all whole people and there's lots of things that get in the way along the way. All right, we will kick off really grounding the conversation in personal story and how it shaped your work. I'll come to you first here. So give us what brought you to what you're doing now?
Okay. All right. So I always loved art as a kid. It was like the thing that I was naturally good at. But you just don't think you can make an actual career in the arts. It's like not often, it's not often done. And so I was too afraid to major in it. So I majored in marketing and advertising. I thought like it's a little bit creative, but it's a more practical choice. My first job was in graphic design. And I started making coffee for a graphic design agency and like running errands, all those things. But I kept just like asking to do more. And then every now and then there'd be a need to draw like a spot illustration for a magazine. So something to accompany an article. And I kept like throwing my hat in the ring for those kind of opportunities. And my colleagues figured out I could draw. So I actually, for the first 4 years of the business, it was like a part-time thing where I was drawing people's like puppies and babies. so I did that for quite a while. But I never really felt connected to that work. I think because it was all 100% like commission-based. So often I didn't know the baby I was drawing or the dog. And then I also had this wake-up call when I had my own dog and baby and never chose to draw them from my own house. So I think it was just, and I also met an artist friend at the time, and I realized that I felt embarrassed to show her my website or like tell her what I was doing. So it was like, there's some sort of disconnect here and I'm not really sure what that is. I had my first daughter and it was like, if I'm taking time away from her, I want this to be work that's like meaningful and feels true to me and the things that I am passionate about. I love spending time outdoors. That's like my healing, happy place. And I love hanging like landscape art in my own home. So I was like, I am going to scrap everything, take a big risk, and I'm going to put together like 12 paintings of landscapes and I'm going to share about, I probably had like, I don't know, 1,000 people on social media at that point, but I was just like, this is what I'm doing because I'm passionate about it. I have no idea if it's going to do well. It probably won't, but like, here it is. I just was pretty open about what I wanted to accomplish and what I was doing. And then they ended up selling out in like a day, which was really, really cool. But I think I also undercharged. So maybe it was that, but it's only like grown from there. And I think that like alignment with like what I care about, what I like, what I personally want to hang in my own home was a big part of it, as well as really being myself on social media and also just with any sort of like business contact. I'm a pretty like casual, I think I'm a friendly person. So I try to show up the way that I do in real life. I try to like type the way that I talk. I just try to, I don't know, just like be authentically me. And that feels not only aligned, but I think it's like, it's contagious when you have that energy for like really caring about what you're doing. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, amazing.
Okay.
And that comes through 1,000%.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll just pass this one along.
Okay, ADHD moment. Can you re-ask the question?
Yes. We're okay. All right. What brought you to what you're doing now?
Okay, so I'm gonna start at 2023. When I got to this point in my career, I felt almost like an ingrate because I had figured my way into corporate America, worked my way up to being a creative director of creative strategy of these brands that are some household names, and again, spending millions of dollars a month leading the strategy. But something that just is always in the back of my head is when I reach a goal, I'm like, okay, what's next? And for me at that time, there was a turning point where I was kind of like, while I was working full time remotely as a creative director, I was also doing UGC user-generated content on the side, and I had built a supplemental six-figure income creating content for brands in addition to what was my six-figure salary as a creative director. And I was just getting this feeling like it was time for me to leave and go off and work for myself as like a fractional creative strategist, director, and also just like consultant. And I basically had the universe full-blown just throw me out there because I was planning to, in August of 2023, on a Friday, put in my 2 weeks notice. Plot twist, that Tuesday, the company got acquired by vultures, and we were all laid off that Thursday. So the universe was like, you're going. Whatever, greater entity out there was like, it's time, you're going. And for me, I was like, you know what, I'm ready. And it was kind of that moment that it really woke me up to the fact that I was not heartbroken over my circumstance. I was heartbroken over the circumstance of my coworkers who had put all their eggs in one basket, trusted this company to take care of them, had a mortgage, had student loan debt, had children to take care of. And that in that moment really just reaffirmed to me, like, it's of my opinion that if you don't have supplemental sources of income, like you are kind of putting yourself in a predicament, or what could be a predicament. And what happened was I ended up going off working for myself, being this fractional creative strategist, working with brands like Amazon Photos, Everyday Dose, Modern Gents, Crypto.com, Rover, all these brands that are spending, again, millions of dollars a month. And not only that, but I feel like it kind of lit a fire for me to help my audience who is looking to also build a supplemental source of income, a lot of which are women, a lot of which are either single mothers or stay-at-home moms. And for me, it's just, it's been so fulfilling to be able to help others with these resources that are now accessible that I really had to learn the hard way through trial and error. And it took me basically 10 years to get to where I am today. But thankfully, like with these resources, have been able to expedite that learning curve for other women who are now self-sufficient and building six-figure businesses to the point where they're like, okay, cool. Like I actually can now leave my full-time job and I can now have multiple sources of income through multiple clients. So this is kind of where I'm at now as just like someone who is former corporate America. And I don't know, at that point in my life, I was like, I did it because, I was a college dropout leading creative departments at 27 years old with people who were, some of which like almost double my age. And, they're all paying off their student loans. And for me, I, was leading the department as their boss. So yeah, being able to leave corporate America and work for myself has been like very fulfilling, and also being able to build my business, UGC Pro, in tandem with that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Oh boy. I feel like my story is pretty simple. I was a stay-at-home mom. My passion came from creating. Again, I think we can all speak to like the artistic side that are in all of us in some way. Although like my sister's in the crowd, she's a CPA, very financial. We debate on that sometimes. Yeah, I just being a stay-at-home mom. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I had the passion for creating, and I made quilts that I sold and gave to family members. I did jewelry on Etsy, and the candles just kind of stuck, I like pouring late at night. And in my kitchen, I too am I never went to college. So kudos to you. And actually, I do not have a GED or high school diploma. So for me, I felt really trapped. I felt stuck. And this was just something that I'm like, the community was wrapping themselves around like, everybody loves a candle. And from there, like I looking back, I started the company in 2015. So actually next month we're doing our 10-year anniversary, and it just, there's so many ways that it feels like it's been longer and so many ways that it feels like it's been shorter. So that's where I'm at right now.
Amazing. How, and we'll pass this back this way. How did your identity, or keep it, and then we'll pass back. Yeah. How did your identity shape the brand, business, or community you've built?
Oh my goodness. I think that for me, it created a relationship with our buyers, right? Like starting from the beginning, I actually took a different path in my career where a lot of consumer packaging brands or products start with direct-to-consumer website. I actually went wholesale. So I remember walking into Newport Market with this little box of candle samples. I was 9 months pregnant. No, sorry. I was 4 months pregnant with my third. Walking in and just remembering that moment, like, oh my gosh, this is like an opportunity of a lifetime. And I have this little box of candle samples and a big old belly. And I landed a $400 order with Newport Market. And in the moment, walking away from that, there were so many questions. Like, for one, how am I going to do this? For two, like, why? What is the why? Right? And I feel that the authenticity behind my story really created a connection with people, right? It's not just a brand. It's not a Yankee Candle or a Voluspa or a Patty Wax. Like all of them started with stories, but they've gotten so big, and part of the storytelling does change. I will tell you that. But in the beginning, like that's kind of where it came from, was just being authentic and saying like, hey, I'm putting myself out there and this is the reality. Like I can do this, but I can't do that. And I don't know this. And can you help me learn that? Yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in the beginning, that's what the story was, right? It was just, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I'm looking for fulfillment in my everyday life. And it was real. It was authentic. I showed up just authentic.
I think that's such a common thread and something that's hard to do. Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you what the question was.
But you can.
I have the attention span of a gnat. Somehow it helps me with my business.
Just how you brought your identity into shape your brand and business. And
so I feel like I've always kind of just worn my heart on my sleeve. From the very beginning, I posted on my story today, like an old LinkedIn about me, of me just like owning the predicament that I found myself in, where I knew that if I couldn't afford to go to college and I was trying to avoid debt, how am I going to do this? And like, I owned it when I was on LinkedIn from a professional level. When I was, building UGC Pro, a big reason why our audience is mostly women, and it's not even just like women my age, like women of all ages, all walks of life. And I think it's because of just how I've always tried to just be honest about my experiences and really also just show like, hey, if I can do this, you can do this. Because when I started back in 2014, we didn't have TikTok, we didn't have resources to be able to be like a self-starter, a self-taught video editor, content creator, videographer, strategist. Like these were truly all just through trial and error. And so I feel like just being able to be relatable, personable, talk about the things that I've personally struggled with over the course of my career. My mom knows how hard times were for me when I was in LA just building my career. It was not easy, and I think being able to share both sides of the coin in the sense of, like, I did not get here with ease. I didn't. But, and especially as someone that sells digital resources, digital products, video courses, for me, it's been like, okay, I went through the ringer, but here are the steps to take to get you from A to Z to avoid the barriers, the common roadblocks that you could experience as a performance creative marketer, UGC creator, video editor, videographer, etc. And so, yeah, I would say just, being able to be just a human. I feel like, especially in this day and age, we are so connected almost to a fault. And it's like, where's like the human connection? And so just being able to cultivate a community, whether it's LinkedIn, on Instagram, wherever it might be, I feel like just showing up as your most authentic self and owning the not so great moments in addition to, the highlight reel.
Awesome. We'll pass it over here to Lindsay. So yeah, how your identity shaped your brand. And then we'll also circle on that of, what advice do you have for people like struggling to connect their personal story and their professional story and how that feels together?
I'm so glad I was going to sort of answer the second one because I kind of already answered the first one. I think if you're struggling to talk, it's like uncomfortable to talk about ourselves. Sometimes it feels like you're bragging or, I don't know, being obnoxious generally. But I try to think about like leading with generosity and like connection with people. So I try to like I don't just send like an automated thank you email anytime somebody orders something. It's like a, hi, Susan, thank you so much. I appreciate this. I hope it, it's like a kind of like a personal touch point. I try to reply to every DM. I try for it to be sort of like a two-way street with like those kind of touch points. And then I guess with the content I'm putting out there, I'm trying to like think about having it either be like inspirational, motivational, educational, entertaining, or like relatable in some way. So I try to think like people are actually giving you like time out of their day by following you on social media and like connecting with your brand. So like, how are you going to honor that and like give them something in return? I just think that's just like, it not only does it like feel good to operate that way, but I think it creates those connections. And then when people feel connected to you, they're like far more likely to like root for you and want to support you. Like when I first started, the only people that bought my paintings were like my family and friends. And then it went to like friends of friends. And now it's like people that I may not know in real life, but I think people that feel like connected to me because we've either like communicated in some way or I've like shared enough that they like can find something that they connect with about what I'm about, if that makes sense. So yeah, I hope that helps.
I love that lens of thinking about, it's not just a conversation, but kind of what are those really intentional points that you're aligning on. I love that. What advice would you have, Kelly?
Oh my God, can you re-ask the question? I'm so sorry.
I'll just start re-asking the question. What advice for people do you have of connecting that personal and professional story?
So the way that I see it is perception is everything. And I feel like there's a balance that you can find where you can be like your full-blown, most authentic self while also still keeping in mind maybe the platform that you're on. I'm very much my most authentic self on LinkedIn, but that translates differently to my Instagram. It translates differently to my private community with our members. Like, it's one of those things where I feel like being able to just keep strategy top of mind when it comes to how you want to show up and how you want to be perceived. And I say that only because it's like, when we're posting on whatever social platform as business owners, like the goal here is to have this emotional connection, because you have to connect emotionally to your audience before, someone is going to like then move on to rationale when it comes to purchasing your product or your service or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, I would say just making sure to just like find that balance. And in a way, I don't know, it's kind of like sad, but like it's just the world we live in, where it's like you also want to be strategic with it. And I mean, just for me personally, like I've found that balance where I've been able to like really build a professional presence on LinkedIn, to the point where like even when it comes to strategy for storytelling, like I've been able to pitch journalists from Business Insider or CNBC, NBC on articles because of, one, the presence I've cultivated on my LinkedIn. It's not even like I have like an audience on there. It's just like what my profile looks like. Anyone can do that. But then also how I, portrayed myself to them or to a potential client or to a potential student. So I would just say, just keeping in mind where you're building this story and how you want to be perceived. Because as much as, I don't know, I don't like to be perceived, and I'm sure a lot of people don't, it's like, that's just the world we live in. And it's, I don't know, I kind of treat it like a game.
Do I have to answer that question?
You don't have to. Yeah. You can pass it back.
What advice do I have? I don't know. I mean, for me, I've talked a little bit about the infancy of the brand, and I'm sure as we dive in, like my story has changed so much, right? Like I've only talked a small bit about how it started, but then the steps that come after, right? Like you start talking to big retailers. You're trying to get into the Francescas, the Whole Foods of the world. And what does that look like to them? Like the story has to evolve, right? And sometimes it's beyond comfort. There was a point that I'm like, what does this look like? Like, again, the stay-at-home mom story to now, how do I show up and present myself as being a sophisticated businesswoman versus a stay-at-home mom pouring candles in my kitchen? And that's a mild description of the transition, to say the least. I think my advice would be, like, in general, I'm trying to keep my responses short. I'm sorry.
No, you're great.
My advice in general would be change. Just change. Like, change is scary. I think that a lot of us, like, fear holds us back from everything. It is scary. And I think that when we can face our fears and say, like, authentically continuing to show up how you've presented yourself. Like, I've never lost sight of the fact that I was a stay-at-home mom and that's what I did. And I enjoyed crafting, and I was like a little addict pouring candles. Like, I liked it. And now it's sad to admit, I haven't poured a candle in 6 years. I don't even know how to do it. Like that's the reality of the evolution of like what happens. And I think, don't be afraid to change. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's scary, it's ugly. But it can bring like so many amazing things if you just lean in. Yeah.
I'm glad you kept the microphone because I loved all of that. Keep it, because I want to hear more about how that evolution, it's fascinating and like brings up so many questions of yourself at every point of like, how do I do it? Am I doing the right thing? Like, talk more about your thought process and just, over time, how your story evolved and when you knew it was the right time.
You don't. That's the short answer is like, you don't know. Again, to change, I think leaning in to opportunities. Like, I think that I lead best by giving examples. 2 examples. Like, one of the questions you had was authenticity versus, what was the oversharing, right? Like, the best way to, I guess, tell that story for me is going early on and looking at the beginning of this. Like, the real ugly truth of why I put so much effort into starting my business is I was really unhappy in my marriage and my life as a stay-at-home mom, and I felt really unfulfilled that like I didn't have a degree. I had no experience. I was unhireable, right? Like looking at what that looked like for me to exit my marriage. That is an example of oversharing. The 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 real story is like the very authentic side of me is like that is just a story that is a story, right? It's just a story. It's something that happened. And would I choose to rewrite it? 100% not. Would I choose to overcome it? 100% yes. And just leaning into like, again, everything that I said is like authentic, right? Like I was a stay-at-home mom. The truth is I have 3 kids and my oldest is 18 and my youngest is 9. And I still am, I'm in a very committed, loving relationship now for 5 years. But I'm still a single mom. And the truth is like, even tonight, I'm juggling what I'm doing, right? Like the kids have football practice and this and that. And it's making choices and it's choosing to be present when you need to be present and when you want to be present. And sometimes that's selfish and sometimes it's not. Yeah, but I think my story is still there. I'm still a mom. I'm still all those things, but again, like back to like full circle, when you're talking to retailers, big retailers, when you're talking to investors, we actually, pretty exciting news, we just landed our first really big licensing deal for home fragrance and personal care for Billabong and Roxy. Yeah.
Amazing.
So those are like this. It's just it's balance. It's figuring out like the story. It never ends if you continue to write it, right? Like don't end your book. Don't put a period. Don't put the end. Like just keep writing it. Yeah,
I love that. Thank you.
yeah.
I love, just the evolution and change, but keeping that common thread. I'd love to hear how over time you've changed your story and what that looked like.
Let's see. So I would say for me, it's been more so going from like when I think about the phases, it was me owning what felt like setbacks when it came to trying to break into corporate America, owning that in my About Me, to eventually then like kind of over time being like, all right, as much as like an underdog story is powerful, I'm now at this turning point where now I'm shifting. Now I'm trying to really establish myself as this leader when it comes to direct response marketing. And so when I think about how that changed, there are a lot of factors. Social media presence, even things down to videography, having professional photography. We got Miranda Kelton in the house. She does all my photos. But then also like the being able to basically how it goes back to perception. How are people going to perceive you? If I wasn't investing into high-level production, if I wasn't investing into photography, if I wasn't investing into taking out time in my day to pitch journalists on ideas that I have through storytelling of, my journey, my business's success, I've been strategically kind of just planting these seeds where it went from I'm just trying to get by. I'm trying to get a paycheck. I'm trying to literally survive. I'm trying to pay off, all my credit card debt when I was just in LA, just trying to exist and get my career started, to now being like, how can I get to that next goal? And for me, it's really just like establishing myself. And it's weird because, well, one, as women, I feel like, I don't know, we don't talk enough about ourselves. I mean, there's literally studies that say that, right? That like when women are in a room with also men, like women are oftentimes not even the ones that are talking the most. But also like, why is it that when it comes to women, like we can't even talk about ourselves? Like it's not a form of bragging Like, this is it. This is the truth. And so I feel like I'm at this point in my career now where I'm like, I really want to nail down like working fractionally, consulting, while also building UGC Pro, which is, the digital resources. And I feel like when it comes to controlling the narrative of your story, there comes a time where you almost want to give up to go up in a different way compared to like how you started, which is investing money into things that I literally would have never imagined spending that much money on, and also like didn't have the money to do it. Like literally there was a time where I worked 245 days straight, making $500 a week, working 10 to 14-hour days. I didn't have a day off any single day from 245 days straight. And like that was a completely different, strategy, right? And so it's like fast forward to now, it's not me working more. It's how is the world going to perceive me? And honestly, like the more I have really strategically owned my storytelling online, the more opportunities I'm getting. I mean, I'm pretty sure like if my presence wasn't online, I wouldn't be here right now. And it's because of just like the presence I've built online. And if you're posting something and you feel like, I don't want to post it, I feel like I'm bragging, post it. Post it. First of all, financial transparency for women is so important. Let's talk about how we're making our money. Let's talk about our successes. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, it all comes back to just like strategy and how you want the world to perceive you, because that's literally how you're going to get your next opportunity.
Ooh. I'm going to pass this back to Lindsay over here. Yeah. Share with us about how your story's evolved.
Sure. Well, Afton, I like don't think that was oversharing. I think that is so, I think your story, like, it's like when you're authentic, it breeds like connection, and so many other people go through that. It's not like you know what I mean? Like so many people will connect with you and now like choose your candle over the other one, because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, why would you choose between two objectively great candles? It's because you like connect with the person who's selling it and want to support them. I just think it's like, it's very cool. So yeah. And then I'm not sure if this is totally answering the question, but I think it's been hard for me to own the title of artist for a while, because I think sometimes the reaction is like, cute, and I even like, yeah, I know. And I sat next to a guy on a plane and I was like, yeah, my husband's a doctor, I'm an artist. And he was like, oh, so he does what he does, so you can do what you do. And I was like, ah. So I'm like, you hear that kind of stuff, especially in creative fields, a lot. And I think it's almost like my reaction then is to like really downplay it, to like beat them to it for some reason, or like just feel like it's not a big deal. Or when I was still working part-time with graphic design and starting the art, I would never claim the artist title, but I think it's still something I have to work on. But just like claim it, because nothing's going to change that perception of arts unless you believe it yourself and like live into it. And then I'm working on like beyond the art, I'm going to try to put together a course for other artists. And it's like, I've got to be confident in what I'm saying and who I'm claiming to be if I want anybody else to look to me for anything. So I guess just like, don't be afraid to like claim what you do proudly, and and just like own it. So yeah.
Ooh.
Yes.
Take the word tryout. You're going to make courses.
Yes, that's true.
Also, being very modest. I think you shared something on Instagram that you made more money than your husband, doctor, from
last year.
All your strategy. So.
I didn't. I mean, I should have told that to the man on the plane, but I didn't.
That was my next question. If you're like cute,
I know. Yeah. Let me tell you something, sir. Yeah, but anyway.
Amazing. How are you feeling?
I feel okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. How are we doing on time? I could talk forever. We'll have time for questions too. So, how, when you talk about sharing your story to grow your audience and sales and credibility, like how do you actually do that? Where do you start?
The thing that comes to mind for me is like, I try to just like think about who I like to follow on social media. And it's usually, I gave this example on social media the other day, but I love following home influencers. And I love it when they take you along for like the whole journey. So they're not just like, here's the pretty polished, perfect room. They're like, I have this idea. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to take you along to the store. I'm going to take you along as I try this thing. And, oh, it didn't work. Let's fix it. And then you just feel so invested when you're getting like that entire journey. I also feel like everything is an ad these days. Like there's suggested posts and there's ads and everybody's trying to get you to sell something. And I find myself, I just try to be reflective of like my own behavior on social media. And I find myself just scrolling quickly past anything that looks too perfect because I just assume that it's an ad. So I'm trying to, I guess, just like make sure I'm telling that whole story and getting people invested in it and almost like being myself more than having it be like perfectly professional, polished all the time. So I don't know if that helps. Yeah, but okay.
So for me, when I think of this question, it's between like two very different types of vibes, just because for LinkedIn, I'm looking to attract, CEOs, directors who are looking for someone to help them with consulting versus for Instagram, my audience I'm looking to attract are students to be able to teach them either UGC, creative strategy, etc. And so when it comes to posting on social media for cultivating this audience of creators that are looking to be able to monetize this skill set, especially without having to be an influencer, which in my mind, I'm like, that's like the best version of it is you don't need a following. You just need to be good at content creation. That's great. So I look back to when I first started posting back in summer of 2022, specifically for this brand. And the reason why my TikTok blew up within like 3 months, 0 to 60,000 followers wasn't because I was perfect. It's not because it was the highlight reel. I was value first. Like I have it sounds so silly saying it as myself. I've had women cry when they meet me saying that my free resources helped them get out of a marriage that they couldn't afford to, because they then had financial stability to do it. And it's one of those things where like when I think back on like what I did right back then, and it was just because I was free information first, yet still have been able to have people buy our video courses. Why? It's because we're value first. It's because I'm not gatekeeping this information. If you take the video course, it will expedite your learning curve. But I'm sharing this information for free. And it's because of our mission, which is to make this information as accessible as possible, which is rooted in the fact that when I was a senior in high school and everyone was so excited to be going to their state schools, I was like working 3 jobs. I was cutting class. I don't even think you knew this, Mama. I was cutting class to go work at Pinkberry to be able to afford my next semester of school. And like, I didn't even tell her when I went and got the job at Pinkberry. I just hopped on a bike one day and applied. But it's like one of those things where it's like, as long as you are just value driven first, it will come. Like whatever it is you're seeking, it will come. And it might not even be in the way that you're expecting it. Like when you put this out on the internet, you get connected to such incredible people. Your network is your net worth. So even if you're not getting like your time paid through whatever you're selling, like it will pay off because you're also building this personal brand online. And I mean, this goes back to what I said before, which is the best way to stand out these days is being your authentic self. Not being perfect. Like literally when I think of ads today that are doing really well, they're like TikTok shop style in the sense of like they're just talking to their phone. And like also you're like, everyone's trying to sell these days. I'm like, ooh, I'm guilty of that. I work with brands that do that. No, you know what's funny though? When I introduce myself, I say, oh yeah, or not introduce myself when someone asks what I do. I'm like, oh yeah, you know those ads online that get really annoying? Yeah, I'm the brains behind it. But yeah, so just being value driven first, I think is like the most important thing. And like, in my opinion, like something good is going to come your way, even if it's not what you're necessarily anticipating.
Where were you 10 years ago? Full disclosure, I do not run any of our brand social media. I am pretty minimal with my own Facebook and Instagram. And I feel like when I do show up, it's about my kids, right? Like I'm writing this story outside of my family that is all about product and brand and sustainability and mission driven. But my personal social media is about me celebrating my kids and my family, because my kids have been along this journey and they've had to struggle and they've had to sacrifice. And I don't post very often, but that's what I do. I can't speak a lot to like how unfortunately how the brand shows up, because I have a team and I put my trust in my team to share that voice. I will say, like, I do run my own LinkedIn, not well, but I do it. And when I post content on there or share an event like I did with this, like it's genuinely me sharing something because I care about what I'm sharing. So I think there is still like a small part of being authentic and me showing up. I'm turning 40 next week. It's coming a little bit hard, and like social media is a little difficult for me. I think I have one post on TikTok that my 12-year-old did. No idea what it is. No idea who's commenting. So the story for me continues through my team, right? Like, and part of what I don't know that we'll get to it, but some of the questions that were presented to us is like, how do I show up now versus how I did, right? Like the evolution of the brand. And for me, it became not an I anymore. Like I did this, I started this. And now the story is the team, right? The team I've built, the team that runs our social media, the team that makes the candles. Like, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they stand on their feet for 8 hours a day and make lotions. Like, I have no idea what the formula is for solid colognes. Like, I have no idea. And so when I'm presenting myself to peers or, social media or investors potentially, or, even partnering with this new marketing company for these licensing deals, like I'm showing up representing and presenting our team. It's no longer an I, it's a we. And it's transformational. It's kind of different. Like, again, to the point of, we don't like to talk about our stories. Like in a moment, I'm okay with it, but to sit me down and be like, talk about yourself for 20 minutes, I'm like, this is really boring. Like, I know how this story goes, but it's really about the team, right? Like the narrative will continue. Again, I go back to change, like blah blah blah. I know change. It truly does. It changes. It has changed for me anyway, from me to the team to the community. Aside from BT, I am the president right now of Opportunity Knocks, and I'm giving back to the community. Like, those are things that I've stepped away from pouring the candles to be able to do and support entrepreneurs and support women in business and give advice and sit down and have those conversations. I guess it's okay for the story to evolve, and the story is still important regardless, right? Like, no matter how you edit it, no matter how many times you want to hit delete and backspace, like, it's still important. And yeah, changes.
Amazing. Well, thank you. Let's not downplay like how amazing it is to have a team that you trust, that you can have, that you don't know all the details. Like, that's an incredible thing. Amazing. Well, let's continue on that question as we wrap it up here. But how do you want to be known now, and what story are you still writing? Can pass to Kelly.
I still want to lean into, or I never want to leave behind like where I started, just because I feel like, especially nowadays, not going to college is a lot more normal than what it felt like in 2013. And so I think being able to just encourage others to just follow their creative passion is one thing that I really want to do. I want to be able to make this information as accessible as possible, like when I think about even how you had mentioned like, oh yeah, like, you know, like being an artist, you know, I felt that way where it's just like, oh yeah, you just got your little phone, you're taking your video. It's always so cute. Like, but it's just like, it's wild how incredible this opportunity is in this day and age. Like to be able to build such an incredible, successful business and being able to market yourself online, it's just like you have so much opportunity. And for me, I feel like I just want to reaffirm that there is a way to make money online regardless of whatever you're doing. But yeah, for my audience and like what I, you know, am really working towards is really just proving that it's not even just me that's doing this. Like every time that we have like a mentee, a student that is able to build a successful UGC or creative strategy business, like that feels like my win just as much as it feels like their win. We have a student in Ohio. Her name is Sam. She's a mother of 2. She's a former masseuse. She built a business in less than 12 months, doing over $150,000, working less than full time. And it's incredible to know that like, she's like, yeah, it's because of your course. And I'm just like, that's crazy. So I want to do more of that. I want to make this more accessible. I want to help encourage other people to build a side hustle. I really just want everyone, as many people as possible, to just feel fulfilled in the work they're doing. And I know that it's not always, maybe we don't all have the luxury of that right now, but even to build something on the side outside of your full-time job, like that could be the like light that makes you feel like you're working towards something and you're like excited to work towards. So I'd say right now, as far as like storytelling goes, that's my goal, while also, I don't know, I feel like I'm also kind of at a turning point. I'm like, where am I going right now? I don't know. I feel like me in 2023 when I was like, I'm happy where I am, but where am I going to go next?
Awesome. So how do you want to be known now, and what story are you still writing?
So like bringing it back to having like a spouse in the medical field, and like 99% of my friends are too. And I've always felt so much like there's so much inherent value and like good that they're bringing to the world. And for a while it was like, okay, I draw pictures, you know, or like whatever. But I've heard from like customers about like how I've made them feel, or I've painted something that like brings them joy to look at every day. And I hope they're also like remembering the interaction that we had as they look at it. People have really helped me realize that there is so much like value and like goodness that I can bring to the world with art as well. So I guess I really just want to like, I don't have like aspirations of like growing this huge brand or having a team. I think I like it small. But I just want to like make an impact on my customers beyond just like, that's a pretty painting, I want to hang it in my house. But like, did I make somebody feel something when they saw it, or feel like seen and cared for like in our interactions? Yeah. Or like inspired. Yeah. So I just want to like put good into the world. So
Check.
yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. I think we'll open up for questions. You guys good with that? Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all that. So what we'll do is feel free to raise your hand and you can stand up and ask a question. I'll just repeat it so everyone can hear if we want to do that. Or yeah, we can take the mic too. Hand that, and then I'll hand it down the way. Danny has a question.
Can I actually ask a question to the audience with the answer by show of hands?
Sure.
Okay. So we heard a couple incidents of some snarky bullshit upon storytelling. So I just want to see by a show of hands who else has had that happen. When you've told your story to somebody, you've gotten a response of snarkiness or condescending or just like crappy, just shit. Yeah. So solidarity in numbers going forward, right? Your energy is precious. But what I really wanted to ask was, can somebody talk about the dilution of content and like genuine storytelling with the rise of AI? Please and thank you.
Listen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, I'm Danny. I work as a fractional head of people in early to growth stage startups.
All right. Does anyone feel equipped to talk to that?
So it's funny because I did a speaking engagement for, it's called motionapp.com, and literally my topic was how I'm not scared that AI is going to take away from the content creator space. And the reason why is because AI is an incredible tool to use that can honestly make a lot of like artists and creatives have a lot more power, in the sense of like, again, it's like, think about partnering with AI tools versus having it replace creators or creatives. And it's one of those things where, at least in my industry, it makes us so much more efficient, more effective. It helps me flesh out ideas. I'm not just like, write me a script. I'm like, I'm brainstorming, I'm transcribing top performing ads, I'm finding trends. And it's one of those things, like, even from like just social media in general, just even based on all the studies that I'm seeing now, people want real people. Like, not to say like AI, there is some like AI art out there that is really cool. And I know that a lot of people feel, strongly about it one way or another. But at least when I did my keynote for Motion, I was like, hey, this is a tool. It's not going to replace, content creators. It's not going to, if anything, like, the more there is of it, the more resentment there is, at least even in the like ad space. Like, you can tell it's an AI ad, even if you can't tell. There's going to be regulations taking place soon. The content, what is it called, sweetheart? The Content Authenticity Initiative. Yeah, so there are a lot of like nonprofits out there that are now starting to like connect with a lot of like really big name brands and social platforms. So there's going to be a time where like it's going to be labeled AI. And so what I like to think is AI is a form of art, the same way that I'm sure photographers felt back in the day when we were going from what was once a camera to digital. Like, it is going to be a form of art, but it's just one format of it. And we're still going to want like real human connection.
Thank you. Any other questions? These lights are bright. I cannot see this direction. Oh, there's one over here. Yes.
Hi, my name is Demante. I am the founder of Priestess in Jeans. It's kind of hard to explain what I do. It links with my question, actually. So what I do is I work with the identity piece, right? I feel like this was like a connector in every one of your stories. Is like the potential of who you came here to be, something that's like so much bigger, and then just like plowing through all the bullshit beliefs and limitations that we have that we're like, we can't do that. So my question would be for whoever feels like answering, or maybe all of you, is what is like the one piece of advice you can give to someone that's maybe like has that vision, but they're like, oh, I'm too scared, or like, I don't know, I could do this. Like, what give you the fuel to get where you are?
Love it. Who wants that one first?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I mean, obviously your business is coming with passion behind it, right? Like, you have an idea that you're passionate about. And for one, there's always insecurities, like every step of the way, no matter what stage of business I've been in, from growth to, or startup to growth to now, like, we're going into a whole nother realm. Like, there's always insecurities. And again, like, I go back to change. I know it's stupid and silly, but embracing the change and embracing your community. I like to, I guess, give advice by personal sharing. And I think for me, when I started Broken Top in 2015, like, there was definitely a fire, no pun intended, fire burning within me that needed to get out. And same thing, like, I was filled with insecurities. Like, how are people going to take me serious when I'm, 6 months pregnant and I'm 30 years old and I'm a stay-at-home mom and like I'm presenting them a box of candles and what does this look like? And I think that understanding that for one, we're all human. Like we all have insecurities, we all have struggles, we all have things that we're good at and things that we're not. And I think coming in with conviction, like people understand where your strengths are based on the story that you're telling, right? Like my story was the passion behind the ingredients. Like that was the pivotal moment I think where we started growing was I went from just making candles, right? They were paraffin based. Nobody knows this. They were soy paraffin based, so they call it a parasoy blend, which most people like get away with calling it a soy blend. It's bullshit. Don't buy it. To then like, why am I making this product if it doesn't have a meaning? And that's part of the evolution of our storytelling as well, is like, okay, find a meaning and stick with it. And I think that initiative behind us going clean and green and making like good products for your home, that was an easy way for like me to deter the attention off of me and the insecurity and say, okay, this was my story, but like, let's evolve the story. And what do people want to hear? Right. And that's always a scary question, even now, like getting up here on stage 10 years later and having a multi-million-dollar company. I'm like, what do you guys want to hear? Like that insecurity never goes away. And I think that listening and again, being authentic, that's a word that has been said a lot tonight. And leaning into the community. Like for me, one of my favorite things, I speak at OSU Cascades every year to the entrepreneur class, actually a couple times a year. And my favorite piece of advice, Todd Lawrence is the teacher, and he loves to end his class. He's like, Afton, what is your favorite piece of advice to give aspiring startups? And I say it the same way every year. And I said, Todd, if you fail in this community of Bend, Oregon, you're an idiot. Actually, there's profanities involved in what I say, but the community here is amazing. And I think that they can help you anywhere from like kickstarting to struggles to the insecurities. And again, leaning into what your strengths are. Like Bend is an amazing place to own a business. It's a hard place to grow a business, I will say. But the community here is awesome. Like, look at this presence. Like I've never been here before and this is amazing. Like a round of applause to all of you. Like this is great. Yeah. Hopefully that answered your question a little bit.
So you want to end? You looked like no. I know. I'm like, I'm like, yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. We can do one or two more questions. Cannot see you. Perfect. Here's one in the front.
Hi, I'm Elsa. I'm a muralist, content creator, lots of other things. I'd love for you all to speak more, or someone speak more to like pricing strategy. That's like probably one of my biggest insecurities, and I think it's a thread amongst women. We don't have the audacity of a man to ask for a lot up front, so I'd love to hear like any advice or experiences about money. I like money.
Yeah.
I want more money.
Your value and your story are tied so closely together. Who would like?
Yeah. I can start. Hi. We've been Instagram friends for a while. I'm glad to meet you. This is the connection I'm talking about. I think I started like way too low. So I think I was saying it like sold out but I also think that created this culture of like, or this idea that like my work sells fast, and it's created this. I wasn't trying to like create a sense of urgency, but I actually think that's like sort of helped me. But I basically just like picked something that it's hard to know like what to investigate what you would pay for it, because it's like you can do it and it's easy to you. So it's like I personally probably wouldn't spend thousands on a painting because I can make them. So it's like, yeah, looking inward, but also like asking for advice, trying to like think a good starting point, but then just not being afraid to like change it. I usually like, if I find things are selling really quickly, I'll inch it up a little bit. If they're not, I inch it down a little bit. So just like, don't let yourself be like locked into the first thing you pick. It's sort of been like a trial and error over the past however many years. So that's my answer. Yeah.
I'll just add that, at least for me, like, which is like very service based in the sense of like doing fractional creative strategy, like I've looked at what others are charging and I'm like, okay, well, if I'm more advanced than them, then I should charge this. But rates in general, regardless if it's hourly rate, product, whatever, I feel like that's just, it's just like the question of just being in business. And it always feels so uncomfortable. But like, over time, like you had said, like based on demand, you raise it, you lower it. Like my hourly rate started out at $25 an hour back in 2015, and now I'm charging $175 an hour. So it's like, oh, if demand lessens, okay, well then it'll be $150. It's just like, yeah, just kind of just going with the flow of things. But definitely look at someone that you would consider like a competitor. Also, at least for me, like the UGC community online, like we're very like open about rates. And I feel like there's got to be like other muralists out there and like content creators specifically in your niche that like would be willing to have a conversation about these things. And a lot of them are online who are like willing to just even just have a candid conversation.
Yeah, mine's a little different because I have product, but I think you know, a lot of research kind of went into where we wanted to be, but at the forefront of it, it was like, okay, where do we want to position ourselves in the marketplace? Do we want to be the cheapest option? Do we want to be the healthiest option? And then also doing research on your margin, like like it's a bigger thing. I think when it was just me in my kitchen, like I could charge whatever because it's my labor and my time. But as we grew, it's like, what does it actually take to make this product? With that, I will say that we have two prominent brands right now. One is Broken Top that, you know, most people are familiar with. And then we also have Ostiloo by Broken Top Brands. And that is like our lower price point line. So it's the same like good ingredients, but it's more giftable, more on trend. And it was like, for us, we hit a pinnacle where we were tapping out in the market as being a boutique brand. And there's only so many new accounts, so many consistent accounts that we can maintain. But obviously, like my goal was to grow the company, not just stay like this mom and pop tiny shop. I didn't want to be, what do they call it, lifestyle business. I wanted to grow. So Ostiloo, the strategy was like, okay, we know we want a lower price point in the marketplace. How do we do that, but still maintain, like obviously not the same margin, but healthy margins to control like everything, right? Our expenses, our overhead. So there was a lot of strategy that kind of went behind that. But I think for us, it's easy to like look at our competitors who we're at with both brands, who's competing with us. We're not the cheapest. Like I would consider Patty Wax PF Candle Company probably our most direct competitor on the West Coast. And our soy candle is $2 more than theirs. And it was an overall strategy that we're like, okay, this could either bite us in the ass or it's going to be good. And we held to it. And that's a hard thing to do when you have people like coming at you saying like, why are your prices more expensive? And it's, well, our labels are more artistic, right? Like than Patty Wax, or like trying to upsell the value of what your brand is. I think that in our minds as not just women, but like business owners in general, we have this insecurity about like where we're placing ourselves. And I think that go in with conviction, right? Like understand your competitors, go in with conviction. I think that there's a really crappy strategy of like overpricing yourself. But if you know that you're charging what your competitors are and you can stand by the work that you're doing, like send it. Break the mold.
Woo. Could not agree more. When you build a brand and not a product or a business, and you can charge whatever you want. They will come. Amazing. All right. So we will let some more mingling time. Huge thank you to all of you for sharing all the things. Big round of applause. I hope you all got some good nuggets and jotted some things down. I will say I love a good CTA that's like more concrete. So I would encourage you all to just take a second and, write down part of your journey that you've been hesitant to share, and maybe try out a new story angle on LinkedIn or with a client this week. And maybe here, just while you're talking to folks, like share a story with another member today, practice it in a safe space. But I think it's important for us to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's something we can continue to practice. So write down those tidbits and be brave. It's a safe place.
All right, if you made it this far, I hope that you were walking away with clarity, not just inspiration. Storytelling isn't a marketing trick. It is the filter that shapes how people understand you. Every founder on this panel started with uncertainty. What made their stories stand out wasn't perfection, it was perspective. They shared what they were learning while they were learning it, and that's what made people care. Storytelling is not about chasing algorithms, it's about creating alignment. When you communicate with intention, the right audience, opportunities, and direction start to line up. If you're a creator, tell the story, what it's like to work with you, not just what you deliver. If you're a business owner, share the belief behind your product, not just the feature list. And if you're building a personal brand, remember, your story doesn't have to be finished to be valuable. The in-progress version is what people connect to. I mentioned this before. I've built my career on stories. Founder-led ads outperform everything else. Creators book dream clients when they show up as themselves authentically online. And every single major opportunity that I have had started with a story told clearly and confidently. So here's my challenge. Start with one post, one video, one conversation where you show up a little more as you. Don't wait for the perfect ending. Tell it while it is happening. Because again, the world is going to perceive you either way. Your story, told clearly, confidently, and consistently, is how you decide what that perception will be. If this conversation helped you see the power of story and you're ready to start pitching yourself for media features or press opportunities, check out the Pitch Yourself PR Power Hour. Again, it is a short, actionable mini course that shows you exactly how I've pitched and landed features in Business Insider, Entrepreneur, CNBC's Make It series, the list goes on. Without a publicist, just storytelling strategy. Again, it is linked in the description below. Thank you again for watching. Use storytelling not just to sell, but to serve. Now go write the next chapter on purpose.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the UGC Pro podcast. I hope today's episode gave you inspiration and practical steps to apply to your business. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit follow, leave a review, and share it with another creator or marketer. And make sure to catch our next episode. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say you will not want to miss out. Until then, remember that success is a strategy and you are your most valuable client. So treat yourself like it. And lastly, if you aren't already connected with us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, look up UGC Pro and be sure to follow along. And as always, I wish you the best of luck on your UGC and creative strategy journey.